Have you ever felt kind of trapped? Trapped by your past, or maybe by what other people think of you? Well, there's this huge best-selling book from Japan that says the key to real happiness, to real freedom, is way simpler and maybe a lot more challenging than you've ever thought. So let's dive into the core ideas of the courage to be disliked and see how they can pretty much flip everything we think we know about our own lives.
So, right out of the gate, the book hits you with this massive question. It just totally challenges how most of us see the world. The idea here is that your unhappiness, well, it's actually something you've chosen for yourself. I know, that's a tough pill to swallow. But stick with me here, because if you can wrap your head around this one idea, it can be incredibly, unbelievably empowering.
To get this, we need to meet a guy named Alfred Adler. Now, when you think of psychology, you probably think of Freud, maybe Jung, but Adler was right there with them, one of the original three giants. The thing is, he totally broke away from Freud's inner circle because he had this radically different take on what makes us tick, a view that some people say was 100 years ahead of its time. Okay, so let's bust the first big myth Adler goes after, this idea that we're basically prisoners of our past. We've all heard it, right? We've probably all said it. Oh, I'm this way because of what happened to me as a kid. Well, Adler comes along and says, nope, that's just not how it works.
And this slide, this shows you the fundamental difference. On one side, you've got Freud's etiology, the idea that your past causes your present. Your trauma, your experiences, they all lead to who you are today. But Adler's teleology completely flips that around. It says we act based on our goals. We aren't being pushed from behind by our past. We're being pulled forward by a future we've subconsciously decided on.
Adler himself just says it perfectly here. It's not the event that matters, it's the meaning you give that event. I mean, you could have two people go through the exact same tough time. One of them uses it as an excuse to give up forever, and the other uses it as fuel to get even stronger. The experience wasn't the deciding factor. The story they told themselves about it was. And that's really the core of teleology. It means we aren't just these passive victims floating through life. We're actively using our past to justify our present goals. For instance, someone might say, oh, I can't trust anyone because I was betrayed before. When maybe, just maybe, their real goal is to avoid getting hurt again, and that story is the perfect tool to keep people at a distance. So yeah, this leads to a really difficult conclusion, but it's also where the power is. According to Adler, it means that on some level, you chose to be unhappy. Now, not consciously, of course, but you subconsciously decided that this state of unhappiness was good for you, that it was beneficial. Maybe it gets your attention or lets you off the hook for taking risks. You judged it to be useful because it serves a purpose for you right now. All right, let's move on to the next big myth, because this is where all these ideas start connecting. This one reframes our struggles not as something happening inside of us, but something happening between us. Now this is a huge one. Adler makes this incredible claim. If you were the only human being in the entire universe, you would have zero problems. Just think about that for a second. Loneliness, anxiety, feeling inferior, all of those things need another person to even exist. Our troubles aren't born in a vacuum inside our heads, they're born in the space between people. Even something that feels so personal, like feeling inferior, is really just a relationship problem. It only happens if you see life as a competition. If you think you're in a race, then yeah, you're going to constantly be comparing yourself to others and seeing them as your rivals. But Adler says that whole thing is an illusion. We're all just walking on our own unique paths. It's not a competition. There is no race. Okay, so if all our problems are about relationships, how in the world do we fix them? This is where Adlerian psychology gets super practical. The answer is a simple but powerful idea called the separation of tasks. It's really just a simple test. When you're facing a problem, just ask yourself this one question. Who ultimately has to deal with the consequences of this decision? Think about a kid's homework. Who gets the grade? Who learns the material? The child, right? So studying is the child's task. A parent's task might be to offer support, but it's not their task to force the kid to study or to do it for them. You know that old saying? It perfectly sums this up. You can help, you can guide, you can love someone, but you cannot and you should not try to live their life for them or control the outcome of their tasks. And this is the kicker. That includes worrying about what they think of you. Because what they think, that's their task, not yours. And that, right there, brings us to the ultimate goal. The title of the book, the central message that all of these ideas have been building towards. Just think about it. How much of our energy, how much of our lives do we spend just trying to live up to what other people expect? Adler argues that when we do that, we are not free. We've literally given the keys to our own life to someone else. That constant need for approval, it isn't a good motivator. It's a chain, and trying to be liked by absolutely everyone is basically a form of lying to yourself. This is it. This is the price of freedom. It's having the courage to walk your own path, live by your own principles, and know, truly know, and accept that some people just aren't going to like it. In fact, them not liking it is proof that you're finally exercising your freedom and living your own life, not the life they wanted for you. So I'll leave you with that one final provocative question. Seriously, think about it for a second. What's the one thing you would do if you just weren't afraid of what people would think? That thing that just popped into your head? Yeah, that might just be the first step on your path to real freedom.